So, good morning, everyone. Morning for me. It's later for you, Brock. We're very far away from each other.
Yes, it's always a good morning.
Yep, always a GM. So,
Yeah.
welcome, everyone. This is another workshop with Mode, our live stream workshops. I know you've missed them. After DEF CON, we took a little stop for a week or two, but we're back again at it today with Brock and the indexing company, which gets me excited. We had this plan for quite a few weeks, so I'm excited to see what you have for us, Brock, today. First of all, Fede or Crypto Fede on Chain, head of the Relight Mode, and I'm here with Brock. Brock, please introduce yourself to the community.
Yeah, hey everybody. I am the co-founder and CEO here at the Indexing Company. Yeah.
Awesome. And what is the indexing company and what do you guys do? Why did you found the indexing company?
Yeah. Man, so long story short, we do indexing. We are the indexing company. And what we really mean by that is we make data usable. Our focus right now is on-chain data. That's kind of our original passion, but it can work for other types of data as well. And we really started this because back in 2022, I'd already been working professionally in crypto for 5 years, was ready for my second startup, realized anything we wanted to build at a consumer level or a product level would require a lot of infrastructure. It just kind of felt crazy to me. Everybody was reinventing the wheel, building the same things over and over again. And so we decided to solve exactly that. It seemed like a ripe opportunity to, I don't know, hopefully make the entire space a little more productive.
I love it. I've been in crypto since like 2017, but like working in crypto, which is a completely different thing. One thing is being on the sidelines, just watching the
Sure.
industry grow. Another completely different thing is actually building on it or working on a project. So, if you're an OG builder, you know that for the past, whenever people say there's enough infra, I tell them there's not enough infra.
Right.
We still need a lot of things. And if you've been building in the space for like the past 5 years, then as you are, you must have built very complex systems for like in-house stuff that you needed to build because there was no solution. So that is great that you saw an opportunity there, a problem to solve, and that you wanted to solve it for others. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, one last question before we jump into the workshop. Actually, two.
Yeah.
One would be what is different from you guys from other indexing solutions? We have a lot of different indexing solutions in the space with different approaches, different features. What would you say is different for the indexing company? And lastly, what gets you excited about the space? I want to know what are you excited about in the future, in the next few months, years, whatever.
Yeah. So the differentiation piece, I actually have a couple slides on this as well, so I'll go a little bit deeper in a minute.
Oh, then feel free to go deeper later. You can
Okay.
skip my question if you want. That's
No
perfect.
worries. The short answer is we, instead of storing data, we do distributed compute. So we can move a lot faster, be a lot more flexible. But yeah, I'll explain that in a sec. And then, yeah, as far as what gets me up in the morning, what gets me excited, it's just seeing the innovation. For me at least, I see crypto and more specifically Web3 as an evolution of how we interact the server to servers, the internet, everything else, really that Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 evolution. Crypto is sort of the payments aspect of that, but for me, it's really about the data and that infrastructure. That's really exciting. Being able to permissionlessly share things across the globe, wherever you might be, maybe even interplanetary in the future. That's exciting for me, that distributed peer-to-peer nature of it all.
I love it. I love it. It's impressive that after working for so long in the industry, which I know can get tiring, and people may think there's no longer like a lot of innovation, but I keep seeing it every day. Like every
Yep.
day I have a conversation with someone that tells me, well, our first conversation was when you told me we're doing indexing. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of indexing companies
Mm-hmm.
out there, a lot of solutions. When we dive deeper a little bit into how is your approach and how you're building it, then I'm like, okay, okay, there is still very smart ways and innovation in everything, and we're still super early with a lot of things. So that's why I'm excited about the workshop for today. I'm an enjoyer of like distributed computing. I'm not good at it, but the concept
Yep.
is really tempting to know if in the future we'll have a lot more distributed computing, and that will help a lot of people reach higher computation without having to have a gigantic infrastructure. That's kind of the goal and the idea, I hope.
Exactly.
Um, yeah. So yeah, without any further ado, just please, I'll add your screen. There we go. And
Perfect.
all yours. I'll just a warning, I jump in and make questions every now and
Please.
then.
Yeah.
So you'll see me around.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a tendency to ramble, so yeah, jump in anytime.
Perfect.
This is not rehearsed. It was just like, hey, I'm gonna put this
Amazing.
structure together. So,
Awesome. All
um,
yours.
cool. Appreciate it. Um, yeah. So we're gonna be talking about the future of data here, and promise there's not too many slides. We'll run through it quick, and then actually get to some more hands-on stuff. Uh, but from where we sit as the indexing company and kind of thinking about that Web3 lens, we see the future of data as being distributed. So truly being able to take that data apart, process it in a parallelized, distributed way, and bring a lot of innovation and advances to not only Web3, but the rest of the technology stack, if you will, along the way. So that's kind of the level set where we're working from. And diving directly into the dilemma for builders in the space today. What are companies facing? What are individuals facing? Kind of as I was alluding to, even way back in, I mean, I've been facing this since 2017 professionally, but still this existed in 2022, and really haven't changed much along the way. And I think the same issues still exist today. And so, really, what we're seeing for companies is you get two choices for your data infrastructure. You can either buy someone else's data, so you're paying for APIs. That works, especially for starting out early. It can be a really cheap entry point, but you're locked into their views of the data. If you want any changes or you want to build a product on top of that, you're really going to be forced to reprocess that data in-house, which means you're going to be maybe hiring an engineer to do that. You're going to be paying for the infrastructure, whatever it might be, which then all leads into option two. If you're not paying for somebody else's process data, well, now you have to build your own data infrastructure. And so this is kind of that indexing piece where you're building the team, the infrastructure, the pipelines, everything else that you might need to get the data from on-chain sources into something usable for your company. I won't even begin to list off all the complexities and costs there, but if any of you have ever done this, you'll be well aware of the pain points and how expensive that can be. So that's kind of the problem space that we were presented with when we were starting this company and what we wanted to address. And so kind of trying to visualize this, if you will. The way most of Web3 data flows today, you have on-chain data all the way on the left. That gets processed by a third party. That third party puts it into a database. Then that third party sells it to you over typically an API, might be a database sync, whatever it might be. But you're really buying that data from them. Now, for you as a builder, you're now stuck having to figure out what to do with that in-house. So they sell you the data, but in order to build your product, you need something a little more unique. So now you're reprocessing the data, you're putting it back into another localized database, and maybe you have your own internal APIs. This is a very simplified view into what we're seeing time and time again with companies and builders in this space. And so for us, we think there's a better way to build. It feels crazy to have so many middlemen, to have so many intermediary steps there. And so at our core, we sell infrastructure, not data. We're solving data problems using infrastructure, not by just selling more data. So we let customers get the infrastructure they need without building it. They can access that sort of enterprise grade transformation logic, the pipelines, the database syncs, whatever it might be, but all at a very affordable cost because of how we do it. And so all in all, this lets builders, customers, everybody else focus on what makes them unique. And small note, the indexing infrastructure is never what makes a business unique. It's just a means to an end. So with all that, kind of what we're introducing now is what we call, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have to stop you there. Can you go back
Yeah,
to the previous?
of course.
I like asking this question because a lot of founders, a lot of people that wanting to build projects listen to us as well. So if I'm founder, right, I need indexing. I need to scrape a lot of data on the
Yep.
blockchain for whatever reason. Maybe it's AI. Maybe I'm training an agent. Maybe I just need to check a ton of events constantly. Um, why or how would you logically arrive to the conclusion that you need the indexing company? Like you've mentioned a few of the issues, right? Could you just maybe give a real world, like a use case or some team that you're working with that was like, hey, we need this infrastructure?
Yeah, super classic use case. Building a DeFi analytics tool, or maybe an agent that needs to trade with on-chain swaps. So in order to do that, you need to ingest a lot of data up front. So you need ERC20 data. You need to know about all those transfers. Great, you can get that over APIs. As you start to expand that across multiple chains, multiple protocols, though, your API costs are going to go through the roof. So that's one reason. Now, for any of those, say you want to start filtering out spam tokens, or you want to ignore wash trading, or you only want to trigger certain logic if thresholds have been met. Like maybe you're trading against whales, or you're copy trading, I don't know, known names in the space. Like if Vitalik buys a coin, you want to do the same. All of that business logic now, it's on you to do in-house. And so your costs for the APIs have gone through the roof. All that business logic you now have to do yourself on top of it. And so you're left building in-house and paying too much for the data to begin with. And at any real scale, so say you're a Series A plus company, you're probably going to throw away the APIs altogether and just go straight to an RPC. Now you're left with a team building all this indexing infrastructure that should just be commonplace. It's the same thing for everybody.
It's funny because it's the same for
Yeah.
everyone. I've seen, we work with a lot of early teams, right, in the accelerator and stuff, and I've seen this happen a lot. Even what happens a lot is teams build an MVP with some sort of API. They're like, this is great, our product is great, and then when they start to add features to it, they realize the API does not cover, I don't know, metadata or some fields that they need. The API costs go to the roof, so they cannot scale with enough users. So all the things that you're mentioning are great pain points. So that if you're a founder and you're struggling with these, maybe you should check out the indexing company and yeah, just give it a try, right? Yeah, that was my question for now. Thank you
No, I
for the
love it.
answer.
No, thank you. Maybe a good way to summarize all of it. We ourselves have been builders in this space forever. Like we feel the pain. It's why we're doing this. This is to scratch your own itch. It was kind of a necessary evil, if you will. Like we needed to build this company just so that we could do anything else. Yeah.
That sounds crazy, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's how early we are. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of diving in then into what we actually do and why this works. We're introducing what we're calling just-in-time indexing. So really replacing, if you remember this graph, you have all these intermediary steps, right? You're doing, a third party's doing processing, ends up in their database, they sell you data, you do more processing, it ends up in your database. We cut out all of that. So for us, we instead have a distributed processing layer where we're using peer-to-peer networking and parallelized compute to actually do all this indexing on demand in real time. and the resulting data ends up directly into a customer's database. So lots and lots of things to unpack there. But the simplest version is this takes the latency to near zero. So we're, as soon as something happens on chain, it's processed, ends up in the database. This is usually sub-second. It's all pushed data. So you don't have to worry about managing infrastructure to go pull or pull data. It just ends up ready to go. That distributed processing, because it's happening on the fly, means that customers can also define all their own transformations. So we're not coming at this with any preconceived notions of what your business logic might be. We actually let you, today at least, it's all JavaScript, so you can write any JavaScript function. So if it's in JavaScript, it can be runs in this distributed compute, all ends up in your database. And this becomes really powerful, especially at scale. So if you have 25 blockchains you're indexing and you want to do some metadata transformations, you want to do some filtering, the works, all of that can be done through the same parallelized infrastructure and end up in your single database. So there's no more needing to run 25 different subgraphs, call a bunch of different API providers, try to bring all that data together on your end. It's really just, here's a pipeline, exactly the data you need, already processed, ready to go. So that's what we're solving. I know it looks very simple, deceptively so. Really, we spent the last 2 years or so of the company proving out that we can do that distributed compute in a fashion that outperforms traditional indexing methods. So figuring out that peer-to-peer queuing mechanism was a big unlock for us, and why any of this is possible.
I'm gonna jump in again. Sorry.
Please. No, please.
So I used to work in a bank where the whole application was gigantic, right? Like it was huge. And we constantly had discussions. Like our PRs looked like one line of code, maybe two each sprint, something like that. And our constant discussion was, where should this logic go? Is this going to the engine? Should we do a PLSQL script to just get from the database and change the logic there? Should we create an API specifically for this? So I feel that also with designs like this, it comes with like engineering decisions of where you're going to put the logic, where you want to process the data. If you're handling tons and tons of data, you need to make sure you're processing that and adapting that in the fastest way possible, right? So yeah, do you have any thoughts on this? Have you seen any best practices? You guys, do you think the indexing company is opinionated into this? Like how adaptable is this model to different structures?
Yeah, at least with our architecture, the way we've set things up, we've taken some definitely opinionated stances. So the nature of blockchains is there is block by block net new data. Within that block, it's all available together. So one block holistically could be transformed together. Where it gets trickier is if you want to do cross-block transformations. So example there being, hey, I want to check when Vitalik buys a coin. Great, you can look at a single block. All that filtering and business logic could be done within this distributed compute in real time because you only need to look at that snapshot of data. If you wanted to know Vitalik's holdings, so all of his balances across all these chains, you're probably better off doing that at the database level. So something that's really meant for doing that where there's a consistent state versus something more transient. That's sort of how we think about that differentiation there.
I love it. And I don't think being opinionated is bad or not. Like it's never wrong or right. It depends on the use case, depends on the team building on it. Some like it more, some like it less. I even would say that lately the trend is that frameworks and tools and everything they are much more opinionated because they being more opinionated leads to less mistakes from the user, developer, whatever usually. So yeah, that's great to know, because a lot of the times as well, what happens in Web3 and while building with a lot of tools that are kind of early as well, is that you start working with them, and once you are trying to actually get the juice out of them or include them in a broader engineer, like in a broader design, you found the issues there, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's great to know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, there's a bit of a tangent, but we've
Yeah,
been struggling internally on how we present some of this to the world, I suppose, from we're calling them like smart defaults or presets. So like having these opinions that can be changed. So some sort of like starting place for people to come in, because again, things like token transfers, you probably don't have to care or want to care that it's ERC20 under the hood. You just want tokens, right? So some of that, I think there's a balance that can be struck across the ecosystem on figuring out what that starting point is, but still letting people get under the covers a bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I'll let you continue now.
Nice. Yeah.
I'll bother you again some other point for sure.
Yeah. Anytime. Um, so yeah, so this is just-in-time indexing. That distributed compute, we're leveraging that instead of storing data in-house. So that eliminates most of our overhead, or the traditional overhead for indexing providers, trims our cost to near zero, and lets us, we charge only for the compute, not for the data itself. So that's that. And kind of talking about what this enables, we like to say that this lets you love your data again, and really emphasize that it's your data, not ours. So we're selling infrastructure, not data. If you're doing a backfill, for anybody who's gotten that far, working with something like the graph, that can take hours, days. We've heard stories about it taking weeks to backfill some data. We can do entire blockchains in minutes to hours, kind of depending on the use case and where we're sending it to. We let the customer control the infrastructure end to end, so really integrating, meeting you where you're at type of thing. And then we joke that with other solutions, you just control a billing account. And really, the most important piece here is we try to make sure the data coming, the final solution with indexing codes that you've got ready out of the box data, versus having to take data that we put strong opinions on and having to transform that further. Yeah, sort of a batteries included approach, if you will. Yeah, it was adopted from a sales deck, so that's why some of this is in here. But yeah, usually customers see about 70% cost savings. And jumping into our roadmap, this is where I'll start to get into the workshop here. Q1, we're rolling out that just-in-time indexing. So the last couple of years, we've been pushing data to customers, doing that real-time data streams. And what I'm going to show off here in a second is how we're also flipping the script to enable the builders and the early adopters to use this as well. So something a little more API based. I'll show that off. And yeah, kind of looking even further forward, we're planning to have this distributed network of nodes be a little more permissionless. We like to think of it as federated, not decentralized. I would also argue that most of the networks in Web3 are actually federated, not decentralized. That's a separate thing. And then on top of all of this, we plan to have a data marketplace where other companies can bring in their own data, whether it's Web3 data or not, but really bringing that into this distributed compute. Yeah, so with that, I'll also show off the product a bit and how that works. So let me check my notes here. Yeah. So sort of a beta product that we've been working on. We'll have a more official launch in January. This is our indexing console, and in it you can see all the different networks we support. I think
Oh wait,
we're.
I think we're. Are you
Oh,
sharing your console? Oh, there we
sorry about
go.
that.
Oh
Let
yes, perfect.
me actually change this. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries.
I thought I was sharing the whole window. There we go.
Sometimes better not to, so
Yeah,
all good.
not the whole desktop, just the window. Yeah.
Perfect. There we go.
All right, there we go. So this is the indexing code console. We're coining it kind of the start of Data 3.0. Right now, you can see all the different chains we support. So we're up to, I think, 60 chains right now. We can onboard new chains usually in an afternoon. So if we don't have it, just ask. And in this, we have what we call the playground. So you can really start to play with this just-in-time indexing. So what you're seeing here, still working through the UX, but on the left, you've got a code editor. So this is that JavaScript transformation I was alluding to. And on the right, you've got the result, so the fully transformed data. Few things to call out here. This is real time. So like the block on the right just happened. If I hit execute again, it'll be a new block. So whatever the current one is, all the data for that block is available. So you can see here's all the transactions. You can dig into all of those. This is just kind of the raw feed, if you will. So you can see here, we're just returning the block. Nothing's being done to it yet. No real transformation. You can also see we're looking at base data right now, but you could switch it to any other network. And getting back to that concept of presets, one of the big things that we're planning to roll out with are those smart templates or presets for things like ERC20 transfers. So if you look here on the right, you can see, hey, this is actually the code to compute the ERC20 transfers from a block of data. We want to show this code. We want to make these presets even open source so that they can be community driven. If we were to apply this, you'll see this transform data on the right now completely change. So we're going through here, we're decoding ERC20 transfers, we're defining this new schema here, and then we're just returning that result. So all this is JavaScript code. This is actually working live, just set it up. And then on the right, you can see that new data coming in. And so this, yeah, you can see that's the current timestamp. So this is all working. It's pretty great. And we can do things like we can switch between chains. So we could go over to, I don't know, let's say Arbitrum.
You should go to mode, Brock. Come on.
Yeah, mode. Let's go. Well, I was saving mode for later, but yes, mode as well.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's fine. It's great to see that you can do several chains in the same one,
Yep.
like in the same script, and get the. I got a little question. I love
Yeah.
playgrounds. This is great to just go and see exactly how it works without having to set up anything. How do I copy this and use it in my app?
Yes.
High level, but yeah.
So you're one step ahead of me here. So
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
no,
just
no,
getting
no.
excited, you know?
I love it. So yes, so this is console, right? You're building up your own transformations here on the left. You're seeing the results on the right. When we roll this out, there will be a couple options. So the typical, we have a webhook solution, so you can send this to a webhook URL. We'll have database integrations. If you want this today, just reach out. But we'll have a more self-service way to do this in the new year. And then the third way will be over an API. So all of this, as we're defining all this data, doing these transformations, this would then be available in all those different ways. You can pick how you want your data delivered. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So you could say, hey, I want to get ERC20 transfers over a webhook, but I also want to use the API sometimes. Both are equally available. Both will use the same transformation code. So if you make a change to the code, it will change everywhere.
I
And
love that you have webhooks on before anything else because I love webhooks. It's something that I don't see around that much. And we keep talking about APIs, and I'm like, dude, there's so many use cases where a webhook
yeah,
is much better. I don't know. I still don't understand how they are not like 10 times more popular than APIs. But yeah.
I could go on for days about it, but I think the short answer is, again, we're not selling the data, so we don't care how you get the data. For everybody else, if they have a database and the only way that they can really expose it is over that API. And so that's the only solution they can offer.
That is actually a good point. There's so many, and yeah, we could ramble about this for hours. Me too. It's like design patterns and actual, design of systems
Yes,
is like a lot of the good practices between quotes or like common practices are there because there's no right tools to make them like
exactly.
easier or better. So as you said, if you set up a common database or whatever, usually you just get an API and you use that because we're used to that. But how cool and how much better could it be if you set up webhooks and you let your app react to the data as soon as it comes like live? So yeah,
Exactly. Oh, and this goes all the way, at least for us, this goes all the way back to sort of that customer life cycle as they grow. We see a lot of people building, say, a hackathon project. You want an API because you want to focus on the front end. That's great. Easy to get started. Don't really have to think about your backend infrastructure. As you scale, you still might not want to worry about database sharding and scaling that layer, but you might need webhooks, so more real-time data, right? So that's sort of the next step. And then as you scale beyond that, you probably want your own internal state. Maybe you've got authentication, you want to do analytics, and then that's where those database rights can come in really handy. So yeah, we really want to be able to offer a solution to every step in that growth process.
that's awesome. And how easy it is to chat GPT or Claude or this? Like, do you have any tips for that? If I go in here and wanna, hey, I'm really bad at JavaScript. I want AI to help me write this stuff. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, so honestly, this is part of what we're figuring out for launch still. This is the block here is just JSON. So there's a presumed schema varies slightly by chain, but say for all EVM chains, it'll be pretty consistent. And then there's going to be a few utility helpers like, hey, I want to decode an EVM log. And so we're exploring at a minimum, at least having some documentation on that that could be fed into, say, a chatbot. But then potentially even, yeah, adding our own sort of AI helper chat on top of that as well. But yeah, once you get past, excuse me, the specific schema of the block, like, hey, the block has transactions, that's an array. Within that, there's a receipt. Once you understand the schema, you could use ChatGPT to write the JavaScript for sure.
Yeah, and also I guess that you could. So what I would do is get one of these templates, copy the whole thing, explain to ChatGPT the tool that I'm
Yep.
using, give it the answer as well, and be like, hey, this is the format of the answer, all the info you have.
Yep.
Now I want to do X, and probably that will help a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is where we're like, we want to add some better code comments. We want to make all this open source as well. So having examples in an open source repository, more community driven, and then all of this, again, it's just JavaScript. So it's for like, hey, we don't care about value. We can just change
I'm
that, run it
also
again.
thinking that I know that Dune like has had provides APIs and stuff like that also, but I'm
Yep.
thinking that hey, this is a cool Dune dashboard. You could probably copy the query or try and adapt it to here, so you can maybe already have that done for you, like the logic.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
No, absolutely. Like we're definitely not there yet, but
Oh,
say 6 months, we're wanting to do two one-click tools. One-click import from a subgraph. So to given a subgraph schema, immediately import it into here, and then we want to do the same for a Dune query. I think both would be super powerful.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I guess that. Well, I hope people start asking for features after this
Yeah.
because I know this can expand to a lot of places, but of course you
Yes.
guys have to prioritize and
Yep.
build the building blocks first, like the base layers, and then go to more extravagant stuff, of
Yeah.
course. But this already looks super great.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
very excited for it. Yeah. And then yeah, I guess really quick. So while we're here, I'll share what this can look like as So if you notice from this URL, I just copied this ID here, and we've got it then available over. Did I do this right? Let me double check this. There we go. We got it available over an API. This will add some authentication, some API keys, that sort of thing. But this is literally how simple it is. The API is already ready as soon as you're modifying the code here. So there's no need to deploy anything, no need to backfill. It just exists, which we hope will be a pretty powerful way to get started. We're kind of looking at, say, the subgraph market when we talk about this, where to work with subgraphs, you gotta write the code, you need your own local code editor, you make the changes, you deploy the code, that runs in their distributed network, has to backfill a database, then you can query the API. For us, using that just-in-time indexing, it's all instant. So again, if we were to just go in here and say, hey, we don't care about any of these fields either, we hit save, we come over here, we refresh the API, and you can see that the schema is now totally different again. So just that instant feedback. Yeah. And then the last thing I was going to show, if it's useful, I guess two other things. So we're also working on some smart presets, kind of what I was alluding to. So doing things like, where was this? Presets, token price. So this is the degen contract address. It exists on base. And we have a preset for getting the token price using swap pools. So doing a volume weighted average price. That is also available over an API. So here you can see, hey, this is the current price of degen, both in USD and in ETH. This is computed in real time. You get a timestamp with it. And you can even go out and do historical times. So say I want to see how much I've lost since I bought it back in April, I could get that price as well. You can see this is loading pretty quick. None of this is pre-computed. We're actually going out, we're processing the relevant data on the fly, pulling out all the swap pools, all the swaps related to degen, doing the translation, getting a price, and then returning that back over this API. Yeah, so that's kind of I guess, a more powerful example of what we're working towards and planning to open source. And
This
then,
is so good. I love that.
Yeah.
It seems like super easy to just navigate, or you make it seem easy, at least.
That's the goal. Like, it should be as simple as, hey, we're in here, and actually, here, I'll walk through it. So say we're on the Mode Block Explorer. We're going to build an app on Mode. We're going to look at some transactions. All right, let's see what's been happening recently. Let's say we want to look at, okay, here's a withdrawal on this voting escrow account.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not super common, but hey, let's index that. Go in here, we look at some logs. We're looking at this withdraw event. Cool. We're gonna copy this. We're gonna go back to our playground. We're gonna clean up this code. Let's call it mode withdraws. Whatever it is, we'll delete all this code and just kind of reset. So in here, we can go, we'll code this live, so apologies. We'll iterate through all the transactions in a block.
Very brave of yours, of you. To this
I know.
live.
We'll see how it
Love
works. We're going to, so these are where there's like little tricks that we want to figure out how to get into the community, but if the transaction doesn't have a receipt, there's no reason to process it, because without a receipt, that means it's a failed transaction, which means there's no logs. So we can skip those. Receipt.logs, we'll iterate through all the logs, and then we'll try decoding it. So this is where those utils come in, EVM, I think decode log. And here we can just paste in that signature we got. We don't need the whole ABI. We can just get this from a block explorer. Great. And then if decoded, records.push decoded. and then we'll return records. Cool. Test this, there's no errors in the code. Great. We're gonna switch this now to mode. Where are we at here? Mode, disabled base, and then you're seeing
You need
0
to add
items.
a search function to that drop down. Too many
Yeah,
chains now.
that's
Yeah.
that's a great point. Yes. And then another thing that we're trying to work on. So like right now, you're only seeing the most recent block. So that kind of that real-time data.
Got it.
We're pulling this from a very specific block. So let's say we want to get that block. We can now go in here and preview that block instead. Boom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And there you go. So you've now,
Is there, if I wanted to do like a range of logs or like the past or all history, can I do that? How easy it is
yeah.
to do it? Yeah.
So that's a piece we don't yet have in the UI, but it's what we do for customers all the time when we're onboarding them. Like if we were to take this and use our internal tools, I could look up all the relevant blocks with this information within a few minutes. And yeah, if we had the pipeline already set up, that could be backfilled probably in less than a minute.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty epic. So I guess with L2s, it's pretty fast with their short history and yeah.
Even so, we've been playing with it, at least for Ethereum, the speed holds. And then for Solana is kind of the big whale that we're chasing right now, seeing if we can implement all this for that as well.
Wait, if I give you something to like check every block in Ethereum history, it would take it like a minute or two.
Just to check, we can do within a couple seconds. And to backfill,
Wow.
yeah, it just depends on the database we're writing to. But this is where that parallelization comes in. So we worked with a block explorer once upon a time where we sent the entire chain history for Ethereum in under an hour. So I was just like piping it through in parallel. Yeah. Yep.
That is crazy. I hope people realize how crazy that is because it's a lot of data. Like Ethereum has
Yeah.
been running for quite a long time and it
It's
creates
terabytes.
blocks
Yeah.
constantly. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yep.
it's
Yeah. And so
awesome.
this is where, yeah, simpler use cases, say you're working on, I don't know, a newer chain and you want to track all swaps and you're starting from scratch, you have your database, you want to backfill it. We can probably have that backfilled within a couple minutes.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's epic.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah,
no,
we need
that's awesome. So
we need the
wait,
UI button for
one.
that still.
Yeah, one last thing would be so, but this is like the playground is good enough so that people can see like play around with it, make the logic and be like, okay, I can actually do this for one block. You can
Yep,
extrapolate that to the whole history of the chain. That's kind of the what you guys are solving. So that
exactly.
would be easy. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, all instantly available over the API as well. Any way you need it.
Awesome, man. I love it. Is there anything else you want to show us? I think this was great. Like we went through the why, the how, the how to get started as well. Well, that
Yep.
is a good question. If I want to get started now, I guess
Yeah.
where should I go?
Uh, Shortest answer, reach out. Running Yeti on all socials, Rocket Indexing Co. The URL for this playground you are welcome to use as well. So this is console.indexing.co. Um, but yeah, this is mostly good for the playground at the moment. If you want to hook this up into your database, just reach out and we can get you sorted ASAP.
Epic. Wait, I saw one last.
There was one last slide.
There was something
Uh,
else, and I cut you off. See, you don't have to let me speak. That's what happens when you let me just go
no,
and ask questions. Go
this can
ahead,
be
please.
that one more thing moment. Yeah. Um, no, so you've seen this full evolution. We're doing the distributed compute. We're now doing it fast enough that we can serve it over an API, all instant changes. With the new narratives around AI agents becoming really popular, we see a natural need for those agents to, or should, start incorporating more real-time data. So right now they're often trained on data, and then they're just responding to user queries. So they're not really learning or adjusting on the fly. So we're planning to roll this out as well in a way that agents can use directly. So a few different examples being, we've already helped train some agents by providing ready-made data. So again, we can get all historical data for chains or protocols or whatever it might be in minutes to hours, fully cleaned, ready to go. You just train your model. With these APIs, we're also opening the door for agents to be able to ask for the data they need on the fly. So they, hypothetically, the agents could be writing that JavaScript, submit it over the API, and get exactly the data they need. And that could change in between API calls. There's, again, no need to backfill, no deployments. You just ask for what you need and you get it back. And so some ways.
That would be crazy because as you showed in the playground, it's easy to build like small, like the API endpoint. Like
Yep,
you just write the code and you already get the API live, which is pretty
exactly.
crazy. So yeah, they could be just, you could ask it whatever and it could translate to code and get the API going and give you a real-time answer. That's actually pretty. If anyone's listening that can actually build that, please do and reach out to
Please,
us
yeah.
because yeah, that would be sick to see.
Yeah, that's exactly, like, we have another internal API right now. So like this one you're seeing is by Flow ID, but all this API does is look up the code that was written in the playground to then run on the distributed layer. So we have another API that just takes in code directly and then runs that.
Oh,
Yeah.
things are gonna get interesting, dude. I because like what people sometimes don't see is all the different teams working on different little
Yes.
experiences. And one concept I loved that I heard recently from the founder of Crossmint is agent experience. So
Mm-hmm.
not optimizing for developer experience, but rather for agent experience, which is again a different architectural design for a lot of things.
Yes. It's a
Um,
different user. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So being able to feed the agents with real-time on-chain and also off-chain data,
Yep.
it's pretty powerful. So love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the new thing. Yeah, we'll be talking more about this in the probably coming weeks here. We're gonna stand up a little site. There'll be some marketing around it. But yeah, lots coming soon for sure.
Epic, epic.
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered everything now. I'll let you finish. Do you have anything else? Uh,
No, truly nothing else now.
awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So people already know in socials, running Yeti.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Your email as well. You know the playground as well, the documentation. Everything is in your hands now to go and play around with it. If you need to contact them, you already know Brock's socials as well. And if not, you can contact me or anyone from the Mo team, and we'll help you connect for sure. This was great, Brock. Thank you very much. I've learned a lot. I yeah,
Yeah.
this was pretty fun. Excited to see that it's working and that
Yeah.
it's easy to use. The live
Yeah.
coding was great as well. That was good. That was good.
It works
It's
sometimes.
hard. It's hard to do. Like I don't
Yeah.
know if people have done it. Not easy. Not easy. We all get mistakes,
Yep.
stupid mistakes, especially in live. So yeah, thank you very much for that demonstration and the whole workshop. This was great. And yeah, happy to keep working together and see how we can index the world, I guess.
Yeah. There you go.
Just
I
in
love
time
it.
indexing. Love it.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome then. Well, thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next one and yeah, have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.